Hi there, this is Mark McRae from markmccrae.com, and today I want to talk to you about how to make better decisions. I was listening to an interview with Jeff Bezos of Amazon the other day, and he mentioned something that caught my attention. He says that what his job really is to make a few big decisions well. And it got me thinking that as an entrepreneur, you make hundreds of decisions every day, every week, every month, every year. You're constantly making decisions, and your success or failure in life and in business or in sports is often not about making great decisions all the time. It's more about making fewer bad decisions. And I think there are three ways that you can improve your decision-making process. And I want to talk about those three. So one way to help reduce bad decisions is to go to a group, go outside of yourself. So what I do when I have a decision to make is I'll go to my team, I'll explain the problem as best I can, and then I will invite everyone to give me their opinion or views or best guess. And then I'll listen to everyone and then make an informed decision. If somebody manages to convince me that my train of thought is wrong or that they have a better idea, I'm happy to go with it. You might not have a team, but you can go. You might have people who you know and you trust. They might have more experience than you. You can bounce ideas off of them. What I will sometimes do if I don't get what I'm looking for from my team, I'll go to other business owners, other people who I know and trust, and specifically someone who has had a similar problem. That's where you can find a lot of help. But just don't be afraid to go to people and ask, "Can I have your opinion on this? I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think?" Because generally, personally, I'm quite a conservative decision maker, so I try and avoid bad decisions by talking to as many people as I can. So that's a group idea. Number two is what I call the upside-downside model. What is the upside of that decision? What is the downside of that decision? Is there any influence up or down? And if there's nothing at all, you're probably, it's not worthwhile making the decision. But let's say, for example, the upside is you're looking at buying a business. That business cost $1 million. And it's going to give you a return of 30% on your investment per year. That's the upside. What is the downside? If you start thinking through the downside, well, obviously your risk is $1 million. You could lose it all, but you might have other risks. You might have intellectual property risk. You might have brand risk. There's other risks. And if you can assign some kind of probability to the downside, it can help you make a decision. So it might sound like common sense, but there's not a lot of common sense around these days. So upside, downside is another way to help you make a decision. Another more complicated way I sometimes like to think through is using a kind of process that a guy called Enrico Fermi posed years ago. He was instrumental in the making of the atomic bomb, but he posed this question that was, how many piano tuners are there in the city of Chicago? Now, assuming you're not using Google, right? You have to just, in the back of a napkin or in your head, you have to estimate some large numbers. So this is a good way of doing it. So let's walk through that, for example. Imagine, and by the way, I got that, I was first introduced to that through a book. It's called Super Forecasting: The Art and Science of Prediction by Philip Tetlock and Dan Gardner. Very good book for decision making, learning about decision making, and making better judgment calls. So anyway, walking through the process, think of a city near you. What's your estimate of its population? Without looking it up, what do you estimate its population is? So let's assume its population is 1 million. It's got 1 million people. Then how many households would there be if you have a population of 1 million people? And let's assume there's 2 people per household. So you've now got a number of 500,000, right? Then you would have a guess of how many households would have a piano. So you can have a guess. Let's assume it's 5%. So that 500,000, so 10% is 50,000 and 5% is 25,000. So you get 25,000. Now you're dealing with 25,000. Now we can assume that a piano tuner tunes 1,000 hours a year. You could get more complicated and work out how many days in the week and how long it takes to play a piano, but let's just have a ballpark, 1,000 hours a year. So 25,000 divided by 1,000, you've got 25. So your estimate for that city would be that it has 25 piano tuners. You've got a number that you can work with. You would then obviously go research and try and hone that number to a better estimate. So why is that important? Think about it. If you want to open a pizza shop, a dentist, a lawyer, a doctor, a church, a hairdresser, whatever it is, you can apply that theory to get a ballpark estimate of whether it's worthwhile doing. Maybe you want to open franchises through the country. It's a way of looking at it. You would probably look at the population, the history, what percentage of people would use that particular thing, and look at the problem logically. So my point in, that approach is don't guess. Use probability and estimations. You try and make the decision intelligently. It will help you make better decisions. So that's the 3 ways I like to try and look at solving a problem or making a decision, is to think of it in terms of a group. Talk to as many people who you think might have an opinion and who could help. If that doesn't work, just sit down and think through the upside and downside of that decision. And if depending on the problem or decision, you can apply the piano tuning idea to solving that problem. I hope that helps a little. That's it for today. Thanks.